A Homo habilis picked up a stone and struck it forcefully against the rib of an animal. Under the force of the impact, the stone split in two, and the sharp edge cut his hand. With his fingers, he gently touched the wound. It was a historic moment. The Paleolithic age had begun. Thanks to the use of stone tools, Homo habilis initiated an evolutionary leap. About 1,800,000 years ago, Homo erectus appeared. Compared to Homo habilis, Homo erectus had already lost most of its body hair and was not very different from us. In addition, it began obtaining food through hunting, becoming a predator at the top of the food chain. Having shed the burden of abundant hair, they were good runners with great endurance. Even under a blazing sun, when other animals could not cool themselves, Homo erectus could. Its reduced amount of hair allowed it to sweat, thereby quickly lowering its body temperature. During this period, they also learned to use fire. Cooked meat was easier to digest, tastier, and eliminated most parasites. Some Homo erectus began to leave Africa and reached Asia. Java man and Peking man were both Homo erectus. Some might object here, but let us not get ahead of ourselves, because we are not descended from either Java man or Peking man. Meanwhile, in Africa, a branch of Homo erectus evolved into what we call Homo heidelbergensis. Some migrated to Europe and over time gave rise to the Neanderthals. Those who remained in Africa slowly evolved into Homo sapiens. Thus, between 300,000 and 200,000 years ago, three human species coexisted on Earth: Neanderthals, Homo sapiens, and Homo erectus. Only Homo sapiens is the direct ancestor of all modern humans. However, in its early days, Homo sapiens was on the brink of extinction. About 190,000 years ago, the Earth entered an ice age. In Asia, this had little effect. Java man and Peking man were unharmed. The Neanderthals, adapted to the cold of Europe, also survived without problems. But in Africa, Homo sapiens came close to disaster. The extreme cold turned much of Africa into desert. Most animals died, and the scarcity of food pushed humans to the limit. Forced by necessity, they began to migrate, surviving on Africa's southern coast thanks to shellfish and fish. At that time, their population fell to fewer than 10,000 individuals. Between 100,000 and 80,000 years ago, the survivors left Africa and expanded into Asia, Europe, and even the Americas through the Bering Strait. And what happened when Homo sapiens encountered the Neanderthals? The confrontation between two great human species began. The Neanderthals had stronger bodies and were highly intelligent. Fossils suggest their brains were about 10% larger than those of Homo sapiens. In theory, they should have been smarter. Combined with their physical strength, it seemed they could not lose. However, they became extinct, and Homo sapiens had the last laugh. Fossil analysis revealed a surprising fact that helps explain their evolutionary defeat. 50,000 years ago, a group of Neanderthals targeted a formidable prey, a rhinoceros. Their spears barely harmed it, but the animal was doomed because it faced true warriors. The Neanderthals were known for their strength and, above all, for their fearlessness in the face of death. In contrast, Homo sapiens hunted differently. Lacking the strength to face large animals, they opted for strategy. They preferred smaller and easier prey. And yet, these weak hunters ended up defeating the strong Neanderthals. Thousands of years later, Homo sapiens completely transformed their way of hunting. Groups of unrelated individuals cooperated to corner prey. Some drove them from behind, while others waited in ambush ahead. Without being experts in close combat, they improved their tools, inventing the spear thrower. This device changed the rules of the game. It allowed spears to be thrown at twice the distance and to kill animals without getting too close. And they did not stop there. Over time, their stone tools became increasingly sophisticated. In contrast, Neanderthal tools remained virtually unchanged for 250,000 years. Perhaps, thanks to their physical strength, they did not rely on them as much. There are also major differences in social organization. At a Homo sapiens site of 500 square meters, Remains indicated the presence of more than 150 people, many families forming a community. At a Neanderthal site, by contrast, there were only 13 individuals, all related to one another. Living in communities versus in small family units made the difference. Ideas and technological improvements spread quickly among Homo sapiens, but not among Neanderthals. Thus, although Neanderthals were strong and intelligent, they were defeated by the unity and cooperation of Homo sapiens. Still, in the DNA of modern humans, there remains between 1% and 4% of Neanderthal genes. Because between the two species, there was not only war, there was also